What is going on, everybody? I am super pumped up, super excited for today because there's actually a lot of stuff happening today. This is a super exciting day for me. This is the first inaugural release of the Make Money and Have Fun show. As you can see in the corner over there, we have the new logo going on up in there. I got my little Make Money, Have Fun show branding happening. So let's talk about this real quick. The Make Money and Have Fun show. As most of you know, my philosophy, my belief system, my kind of mantra, I guess, for about the past 6 months or so has been make money and have fun. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that if we can find a way to bridge the gap between both our passion and our prosperity, then at that point we have achieved success. And the whole point of this show is I want to bring on superstars. I want to bring on people who are rocking it, killing it in their business. They're doing both. They've already bridged this gap. They're making money and they're having a blast while they're doing it. So today we have our first ever guest on this show. He's actually a really good friend of mine. And I want to talk to you about Ely Delaney. Ely Delaney is an automated systems strategist. He's also the co-founder of Purple Knight Marketing and Your Marketing University. He's an Amazon bestseller with his first book, Marketing Tidbits, and his second book, Networking Tidbits. He works with clients all across the globe, helping them automate systems in their business. Ely's Follow Up Rockstar system helps speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants systematize and automate their follow-up and grow their business. He's the guy that'll help you build a 24/7 automated system that will do the work of a full-time employee so that you don't have to. So let's talk to Ely about some systems. Let's bring him on here. Ely Delaney,
how are you, Fred?
My man? How are you?
Doing good. Having a good morning. We're up in Portland, Oregon, and we actually have sun instead of smoke, so that's a good thing.
Excellent. It's actually kind of rainy here. It's funny because Ely and I are both on opposite sides of the country. So I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's over in Portland, so we always got to have a weather discussion, right?
Oh yeah.
So we got some rain, we got some wetness over here. But real quick, for everybody who's joining us, I want to show you something really cool. If you have a question for Ely or even for myself, you can actually post it in the comments and check this out. I can actually bring your question right up live on screen, and we can answer it there live for you. So we're going live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on my Facebook business page, as well as wherever the heck Ely has this blasting out, because Ely is a little bit more technical than I am. But before we get into the technicality, Ely, I want to ask you the most basic question, which is probably also the most difficult question, and that's, what's your story? Tell me about Ely Delaney.
Oh, that could be like a couple hours by itself.
Well, I want to get to a half hour. We got
a half an hour, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So we'll start with the business standpoint of things. A little over 25 years ago, I started my first design business. It was a graphic design agency. Obviously, starting out, working out of my dining room. I think I had 2 clients, maybe something like that. And one of the very first things that I did was got into going to local chambers of commerce, which so many businesses do, local networking, things like that. And I actually took it really well and did amazing with it. With that aspect, the networking side of things, I grew my business from myself working out of my dining room to opening up an office. I had 5 employees, and we're closing between 3 and 5 contracts every week, getting new clients. And most of our clients were within 20-mile radius. So we had a lot of fun with it. Grew that. Ended up realizing 2 really important things. I didn't like an office, and I didn't like employees. So I got rid of both of them and moved into more of a virtual standpoint, which I've done ever since. We've actually fast forwarded to migrating our company. We don't do design work anymore. I actually moved into the education side of things and the coaching side, which I love so much more. And as a speaker, getting to get on stages and teach and share cool stuff. So that's what I do now. We help people with the automation side of building a long-term follow-up using the same strategies that I used 25 years ago in order to build better relationships, because reality is people buy from people, they don't buy from companies. And if you want to really get your prospects, your leads, those connections, those people that you meet that you want to convert into clients, you got to actually care about them, and you got to build a relationship with them. And so that's what we do.
100%. I love it. I really love that story because it relates to this show so much. What you basically said was you found the things in this business, in this industry that you weren't having fun with, and you eliminated them, and you kept the stuff that you were having fun with and left it there. And that really truly is bridging that gap, like we talked about earlier, between that. And what does a day for Ely Delaney look like for you today? Now that you've kind of figured out what you like and don't like, and going through the day-to-day, what's that look like?
Well, today I'm having technical issues, so I have a whole laptop over here being completely reloaded, but we're not going to talk about that one.
Oh,
No, my normal day is I get up, shower, work out, all that kind of fun stuff. Take the dogs to the coffee shop so we can go get some coffee. They can get their treats. And then I just kind of come in, I just kind of see, okay, what does my day look like? And sometimes I'll be replying back to, we don't have employees, but we do have contractors that work with us. So I will try to knock those out before anything. And usually, 9 a.m., our time, which is where we are right now, I start talking to people. I mean, if I wasn't here doing the show with you right now, I would probably have somebody on my calendar that I was talking to, whether that be how do we connect and how can I give you a resource or potentially a client that we're working with.
Sure.
I spend a lot of my day just talking to people because that's what I love doing. I have so much fun with it.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm a firm believer in I kind of critiqued Stephen Covey's little habit where he says, seek first to understand and to be understood. I changed it to seek first to build a relationship, then to ask for a sale. Yeah. And I think that's one of your biggest things. You have your own mantra, right? Your own little tagline or phrase that you go around with. And what is that, Eli?
That is meet cool people.
Meet cool people. There it is. I love it. Tell me about that. How did meet cool people come to be?
So it's funny because I realized when it came to be, I realized it's something I'd done my entire life. But what happened was I was actually traveling around before, today's world, and speaking at places all over the country. And one of the things that I found was I had one place that I went to pretty much monthly that I was going to, and in Miami. Now, geographically located, if we were to go north to Seattle, which is about a 3-hour drive from here, that is literally in the main U.S. From there to Miami is as far as ways you can get from airport to airport. Portland is just shy of that. Okay. So I would go there, and people were, the event that I was speaking at pretty regularly, they would go around the room to the attendees and say, what do you want to get the most out of? Why are you here this weekend? And then they would turn around and do the same thing with the speakers. And when it came to me, I'd do my 30-second spiel of who I am, what I do, all that fun stuff. And I'm like, reality, what I want to get out of this weekend is I literally come from as far across the country as I can every month so I can meet cool people. And that caught, and that became a thing. And that's when I actually realized it's something I've done my entire life anyway. And so it became its own little hashtag, got forwarded to we've got, I got these cool little wristbands that I made up, got a whole bunch of these. There's people all over the country wearing these things. And it's cool because I have people from all over the place. Like they message me, it's like, hey, how do I get one of those? And then we also do the Meet Cool People happy hour on Wednesday evenings where people just come in and hang out, get to know people, because again, it is about the connections. And I found that more than anything else, as long as, don't hide what you do, but as long as people know what you do and you share value and you actually just try to help them out, when they're ready to do business with you, they'll come to you. That's easy. Yes. The sale is easy at that point.
I find it's so funny the way that these things work. I talk a lot about money, right? My basis for my business is in financial literacy. I built a real estate investing company when I was in my early 20s, and I learned a lot about money. And the most interesting thing that I came to learn is that money is a byproduct of value creation. And
definitely
it comes to us, like you said, through the form of relationships. Yes. It's the weirdest thing. I talk to a lot of newbie real estate investors, And we're going to talk about some of the things that you automate in a minute. But some of the newbie real estate investors that I talk to, they don't understand that this like immersion in the world of real estate investing is what allows them to get a deal. It's the more people that you talk to, and that one weird conversation that you had somewhere trickles down a line to eventually getting this, your biggest deal that you've had yet. And so that becomes more and more evident to me every day. And I love that that's your message and your mantra.
Yeah.
But
well, let me go off of that for a little bit, because I want to share something. I think that this will really drive what you're saying home and kind of go along the principles of what we have too. So the story of how I'm here right now. So I would say at least 8 years ago, in the virtual world, I got connected with a person by the name of Felicia Slattery. And Felicia and I have ran in the same circles. We have a lot of friends in common. We had never actually met in person, but we started off as virtual friends, and that's more than, that's really common now, but back then it wasn't so much. And that was, like I said, probably eight years ago or so, maybe even longer than that. And at one point she became a client of ours, and we've done stuff for her for years. And over time, at one point, she introduced us to Larry Steinhaus, who is on the call here listening. And so we ended up working with him. And to this day, we still work with him. The fun thing that makes this even more small circle type of stuff is that, you guys work a lot with Ken MacArthur. I've known him for years because of that same circle with Felicia and a lot of people like that. And because of working with Larry and investor schooling, that is how I met you. And that's where we are today. The people that you meet will get you anywhere you want to go. That's all there is to it. You just got to meet the right people. Sure. That is, one connection. And I don't even remember who, but I'm pretty sure somebody else connected me with Felicia to begin with. Of course, but I'm sure it's always a connection to a connection to a connection type of situation. And next thing you know, you might have your biggest client sitting there, or the opportunity to be on, be the first guest on somebody's new show. Purely because you hang out with cool people, and that's what it really makes a difference. Yeah, and I think that attitude really comes into play. I remember a moment for me particularly when I was buying one of my first rental properties. I was buying this big 4-unit building, this quad that I actually still own today. And I was asking for money. I was asking for this big loan, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there were 2 people that came to the house, and here I am, this 22-year-old kid. And within minutes, they could just see and tell that, one, I was passionate about this. One, I was committed to it. And also, I think that I just had the right attitude about it. I'm a firm believer in, like, the people that you work for today, one day they might be the person working for you. And so, you never want to burn those bridges, and you always want to keep those lines of communication as open as you can, because you never know where it's going to lead. Yeah. And so I think that plays a huge part in it. So Jamie's actually here. Jamie said your network is your net worth. And I absolutely love that. It's Definitely. The old cliche, you're the sum of your 5 closest friends. I like to say that differently. I like to say, if you have 4 rich friends, you're the 5th. So that's why I'm always hanging out with cool people. But let's flip the script here, and let's talk a little bit about the current state of affairs. You mentioned that years ago you switched your whole business over to virtual. And today, I just want to bring this on. Today you do things, you mentioned Larry Steinhaus. Larry Steinhaus is one of the co-founders of Investor Schooling. And he's also one of the people that I work for, including, obviously, working for myself and branding myself with these shows and that kind of stuff. But you basically automated all of Investor Schooling, which is how we have you here today. But my question more specifically is, with the current state of affairs, COVID, this coronavirus thing, I don't want to get super political with it, but how has that affected your business on the virtual side? So that I came from a very interesting spot with this, because about 7.5 years ago, I was in the speaking world. I was doing a ton of speaking business growing, and I had a couple things happened, and I pulled myself out of the industry completely. And that's actually when we ended up moving up here to Portland. And Portland, if you haven't been here, is a great place to hide from the world because it's beautiful. I mean, I live 15 minutes from the second largest waterfall in the country. Awesome. And I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't want to go anywhere. Yeah, but here's the interesting thing was even though I literally stepped away from the speaking world, I wasn't traveling anywhere, I wasn't going anywhere, my business still continued.
Right.
And a lot of that was based off of the relationships that I had built previous and the follow-up systems that I put in place to stay in touch with those people. Because when you meet a lot of people, I mean, my phone literally has, let's put it this way. When I got my new car and you can connect it up and all your contacts can go into your car, brand new car, I broke the app. Okay. It wouldn't, because I have at least 5,000 people in here. And these are people that I know personally. I've hung out with, I've shook hands with them. Most of them I've had dinner with them. When you've got those kind of connections and you stay in touch with those connections, it builds a solid foundation behind everything else that you do. When you run into a situation where you've got an economic turn, like what's going on right now, and right now it's really hard because it's not just a financial shift like what happened in 2008, right, but also a psychological shift because we're not allowed to go anywhere. We're for a while, everybody was kind of hiding in their houses. And when you're out, especially like for coaches and speakers and people like that are in my arena, that's their income.
Sure.
And a lot of people, their income literally went to zero overnight because all of a sudden flights are canceled, events are canceled, and they got nothing to do. And the fun thing about this was I've been doing that before because I came back out of the speaking or out of hiding, I should say, from the speaking side back in late 2018. And so I've just been back in this for a little bit, and this happens, and I'm like, okay, I just go back to what I was doing before. And yes, we did lose a couple of retainer clients, but that's okay. And in reality, what happened was that they freaked out because all of a sudden these things happened. They freaked out, and they did what so many people do when they run into panic mode, and they just sucked everything away. And that was fine. For me, I just kept going. I just kept running what I was doing. And I went back to what I do best, which is connecting with people. Instead of going to events, having dinners with people, speaking on stage, I did what I already know how to do. And we have these amazing tools. I mean, Zoom is one of the best tools ever created, right? I mean, I've been doing this stuff since Skype early came out. I went from Skype to Meeting Burner, Google Hangouts. There was something else in between. I don't even remember now. And now we use Zoom. It's not uncommon for me to talk to people, have conversations like you and I are having right now with people on 3 different continents in the same day.
It's crazy.
And when you do that and you look at it like that, the opportunity didn't go anywhere. It just shifted. And the cool thing about it is it opens up your opportunity to way bigger than the circle that you're already used to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you can be angry about this, or you can look at it as an awakening. And I think that that's kind of what you just defined, is that there's so much stuff out there that we either misunderstood before or took for granted. And
there you go.
we have the capability to talk to people all across the planet from the comfort of our own home. I mean, I'm sitting in my basement, I turned the webcam on, and here we are, talking from, not even halfway, literally all the way across the country. We're pretty much as far apart as we can be, unless I was on the Jersey Shore, which I don't want to be that. But, it's interesting. It's really an interesting, like the best word I can give it is it's an interesting time right now. Yeah. And for me, I basically have done the same thing. 2020 has been my year where I basically stayed in my own lane. And when all this stuff happened, I kind of just dug my head down further into the road and started building stuff. And hence here we are with, the Make Money Have Fun show, talking about all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah. So Ely, your target market seems to be you help out authors, speakers, coaches, and consultants. So what are some of the things that you help them with? What are some of the things that you do for them?
The most important part of what we do is help them build the foundation. I want you to think about your business. especially from a PR, a publicity standpoint of how are you getting in front of eyeballs? Mm-hmm. That can be whether, like, most of our clients are speaking on stages, they're doing webinars, they're doing virtual summits, they're speaking on podcasts like this. They're getting in front of people. And a friend of mine, Angel Tussie, she's in the PR side of things. So she uses a lot of PR as part of that as well.
I actually know Angel.
You know Angel? Yeah. Angel and I have been friends for, 8-9 years at least now. I used to be a regular guest on her actual full live radio show when they had that, like a monthly guest. It was a lot of fun. So she talks about get them in the castle. When you're out doing that stuff, you get them in the castle, and that's where you basically get them to, maybe they sign up for a webinar, or they opt in for some free guide or something that you have. You bring them in the castle. What I like to say, and I got this literally because of her saying that statement, that's where I have this one, which is when you get them in the castle, my job is to help you make sure that they don't meet the village idiot. Because what mostly happens is people, it's like, okay, I want to connect with you. Cool. Let's connect. However that works out. And it's, oh yeah, I have this cool thing for sale you should buy. Oh yeah, I got another thing for sale. You should buy it. Oh, did you know that I'm going to be over here? So you could buy one of my things while you're there. Now, if your friend only shows up when they want money from you, do you like that?
Of course not.
Of course not. We all have had those kind of friends before. We don't like them very much. And most of the time, they never pay us back. So if you flip that around and say, okay, they know what we have to offer. Let's quit trying to sell them and build a conversation with them, build a relationship with them. Then when they are ready to buy, you are the logical choice. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And so that's the kind of stuff that we do. We help people use the tools and technology that most of us already have. Is a great example. Larry is a great example of this. Infusionsoft is the software that he uses to run the back end of his system. We've been using Infusionsoft for almost 13 years now, so we know it better than most of their own staff does. And most people come to me and they have this amazing software, and it doesn't matter what platform it is, but that's just the example we use right here. But they don't have they don't have it really working for them. But it's capable of so much. And so what we do is we put a plan together to help them utilize that software and automate that stuff. And to kind of give you a great idea of how this can work. And I've been sharing this one everywhere lately because it was my favorite news story. About 3-4-ish weeks ago, a gentleman emails me. He replied to one of my automated emails saying, Eli, thank you so much. I always love all this stuff. I've been on your list for a few years now, and I can't tell you how much you've helped my business over these last few years. My son is starting a new construction company, and I'm wondering if maybe you can help me out. And so that led to a full conversation. The interesting thing with this, though, is that he said he'd been on my list for a couple of years. I was like, okay, well, let's find out exactly how long has he been following my stuff. So I go and I look in our CRM, our Infusionsoft, and he first saw me speak at a SCORE event, which, if you don't know, SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. So businesses that need help coaching, they get executives that will basically volunteer their time to help them. And I used to speak for them back when I was living in Phoenix. He saw me speak at one of those events and bought one of my programs in June of 2010.
Jeez.
A decade plus later, he is asking me if I can help his son's business. That's what's possible when you put this kind of stuff in place. You build the relationships, you design it for the long term, and then you automate most of it because we know we're humans and you're going to forget most of it.
Of course. I love it. If you guys are watching, can we get some wow faces for that? I think that was just absolutely incredible. Just send those wow faces in there. I think, Eli, really the biggest thing that you said out of that whole thing is this: build a relationship.
Yes.
That really seems to be the foundation to whatever it is that you want to do. And if you can That's even better.
Automating it is definitely better. But, one of the things, and if you've been in business for a while, you've probably heard people say the term, the money is in the list. And that's a partial truth. The money isn't in the list. The money is in your relationship with the list. That is the key. Because when you can build a relationship with them, they see you as a trusted resource. And that's where you turn around and turn those casual connections into clients. I've actually done business in the drive-thru of Starbucks before because of the connections I've made. It's just, and I don't, I'm not saying I'm an amazing sales guy. I'm just saying that I just have a cool conversation, and if it leads to business, it leads to business, and more times than not, it does.
Yeah, and I think that's the point that you brought up in the beginning, is like a lot of people are like, oh, get them on my email list, get them on my email list, and then as soon as they get all these people in, it's like next day, sales pitch. And you're like, really, dude? Like, come on. And like, even I found myself doing that recently, and I even felt icky. I'm like, this is not the right way to close this thing here.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that step back and said, wait a minute, let me just have a conversation and see where the conversation goes. Because today, and I'm sure you get this all the time, Eli, is we're inundated with all these stupid spammy messages, especially like on Facebook. The person sends you 18 paragraphs and then a link at the bottom. And you're like, dude, you haven't even figured out if I want to buy what it is you're selling yet. And I get them today, and they're so hilarious, because I get people that first they send me a friend request, then they send me their pitch well, sometimes they ask me a question first. They're like, hey, are you in the real estate space? And I'm like, well, sort of. And then they go into their pitch, and I'm like, that one question that you asked me wasn't enough to qualify me as a buyer of your service. And then my favorite part, Eli, is they don't even respond. They just ghost me at that point. You never hear from them again. And so what you create is really this bridge between, I guess, like, in a sense, building a relationship to someone organically becoming a client. And I think that that's absolutely needed and totally necessary in this society.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about it, and I've proven this, and I didn't know what I had when I started building this. I've realized it probably over the last, 5-ish years, maybe, and what actually has become of this. But I've done this my entire life, where I figured out the conversation piece and building the relationship side and being of value is what matters. And that's what builds a solid business. Now, I've managed to pull my business from 9/11, when everything crashed. My business exploded. In 2008, I had the reason that we even dropped our numbers. We got hit just like everybody else did, but we didn't lose business because of the crash itself. We lost business because other people didn't do the stuff that we said and ended up literally shutting their doors. When a client goes away because they find a different vendor, that's very different than when they go away because they went and got a job.
Sure.
And the clients who actually followed the process, followed what we're doing, they stuck around. They got hit, and some of them came to me and said, okay, we're going to have to slow things down for a little bit. Can you work with us? And we were happy to do so. And some of those clients are still clients of mine. Yeah. I even had somebody literally it's about 2 months now. Another one of my stories I love sharing. I had somebody who was one of my original web design clients. And she messages me and says, hey, I hate to do this, but I've merged with another company, and they have a design team, and they're taking care of the websites, and we're just going to forward everything over there. But, I'm really sorry, because I hate to do this to you. Yeah, but we did that like 3 years ago, and I just never, I think it's time I really need to make the switch. And I stopped, and I'm like, you merged with them 3 years ago, and you're just canceling with me now? And I stopped, and it was like a bittersweet kind of moment, because I was so sad to see her go. But if she'd come to me 3 years telling me this, I would have been totally understanding, and it would have made perfect sense. I would have said, I hate to see you go, but it makes sense. Go for it. I get that. But she stuck with me for another 3 years out of loyalty. That's what happens when you build relationships. And when you have something like what's going on in today's world, that loyalty is what will get you to survive. But you can't do that by pitching people all the time. You have to stay in front of them. Top of mind awareness is critical because, like you said, we are bombarded with messages. I mean, I'm getting pitched all kinds of pitching, and it can go as simple as watch this show to here's all these other things you need to buy from me. There's everything in between. But we're getting, used to say you get like 3,000 marketing messages a day. I think it's closer to 10,000 now. And they're all pitching of some sort. But if I can say, my pitch to you is, hey, Fred, I don't know if you've read The Go-Giver yet, but The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. Bob is an awesome dude, and I actually met him after I read his book. But if you want to learn how to network more effectively and be of a place of giving and service first, definitely pick up a copy of this book, go read it, and let me know what you think. Right. Now, that's a whole different pitch than I have this really cool networking course you should check out, Fred. I'm going to send you my link. I'll even give you a discount.
Right. Yeah. You added that question
different. There. Yeah. And, even Jamie is on here, and Jamie there's something we got started with the conversation, and I had recommended the myth of multitasking to her. And that is, that's what it is. It's about, hey, check out this book. What do you think? This is why I loved it so much. Let me know what you think after you read it.
Sure.
It's still a pitch, but it's a totally different pitch. It's a totally different attitude to the pitch. And people will put their walls down because you literally come from a place of being there to help them.
Yeah, and I think that they realize it's not being forced upon them, right? Like you said, with a book, it's like everybody that writes a book, they're like, here, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Yeah. But when you say, hey, look, I wrote this book, it's kind of good, it's about this and that. If you want it, here it is. Mm-hmm. That makes it much less like, whoa,
Well, and here's the thing is that if you recommend your own book, it's still, even if it's the perfect fit and it's a $5 book, it's still pitching you. If you're recommending somebody else's book, that's a totally different creature. Now, sure. I'm not saying you can't recommend your own book. The thing is that even if it's, go to this event that I have, watch the show that I'm doing, go to this event, buy this program that I have, buy my book, those are still pitch after pitch after pitch. Right. But if you mix it up and say, here's a friend of mine that has this cool podcast you should check out. Well, listen to this episode. Or I use Bob Burg's as a great example. I keep his book next to me because I recommend it to so many people, and it goes along the same philosophy of what I go by. I'll talk about that. That is not self-serving because it has nothing to do with me. Even you buy my book off of Amazon, I'm going to make like 35 cents, okay. But I don't make really anything if you buy Bob's book. Sure. And we're mixing it up with things. And when you do that, there's a strategic way to do it. And that's what we help our clients with. But if you do that with enough of, here's something cool, you should check it out. Here's a cool video that I know that helped me out. Here's, this guy did this podcast and it really made a difference. You should check it out. And those kind of things. And then you still can have your stuff in between. It's add value, add value, add value. Now here's something cool I have. It's go along. A lot of people are probably familiar with Gary Vee. Gary Vee's jab, 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 right hook.
That literally just popped in my mind.
Exactly. The funny thing about it was that I've been talking about that for years. And when he put that book out, and I know Gary, right. when he put the book out, I'm like, dude, you finally listened to me.
This one.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
And it's an awesome book. It's an awesome book. I highly recommend it. But he has the concept of jab, 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 right hook is so perfect to explain the methodology behind this. And I'm still an analytical, so I have I'm strategic about this. I have a very specific timing of how things work. I'm a master of watching psychology of people. And so that's where everything that we do, what we teach our clients, what we work with there comes into play with that. But it really does go about add value first, then ask for the sale.
I love it. I love it. So we're kind of winding down on time here, but before you go, I want to talk to you about one more thing, Eli. When you're not working, what do you like to do for fun, man?
I shoot pointy sticks at things.
Oh, geez. I'm glad we're doing this event virtually and not in person. Otherwise, I'd have pointy sticks coming out of my back.
Archery is something that I actually got when I got up here. And the interesting thing is, before I got into archery, is my hobby, and it's all traditional, by the way. No compound stuff. I don't hunt. I have no desire to hunt. We have great steakhouses. I don't need to. But I got into it as an idea of, this sounds like a really good form of meditation. Yeah. And it is. It's actually very well known for that, especially in Asian cultures. And when I got into it, I literally got into, I want to stick in a string because I'm behind a computer. I live in technology all day long. I want as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. It's like yesterday, I spent half a day out at the range. It was nice and quiet, shooting, half the length of a football field with a longbow, which is a lot of fun and not always the easiest thing to do.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, you've got to have something that gets you away from your regular day to day. And it took me a long time to learn that. It used to be, before I got into that, when people would ask me, so what do you do for fun? I'm like, read marketing books. And they just look at me like a deer in the headlights. But even that, as entrepreneurs, we can't leave well enough alone. When I got into it, I started making strings, which is it's a kind of an art in itself. And that ended up becoming another business of mine. So I make strings for tournament people across the country, which is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it pays for my addiction to the hobby. It is, people ask me, it's like, why do you charge so much for a string? It's because I charge 10 times that much for a call.
Yeah.
But it's all fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's funny. Yeah, I love any kind of like off the beaten path hobby. So I'm a martial artist. As a child, I trained. I was an instructor for 5 years. I did a lot of jujitsu and all that kind of stuff. And that, for me, like you said, was my zen. It was my meditation. It was my way of just decompressing from the world and from everything else that I had going on. Today, I play a little bit of guitar, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like when the computer crashes, when the signal goes down, your guitar still works.
Yep.
And so, for me, it's, just pick that up and kind of have some fun with it. So I always love chatting with people about other kind of non-traditional sports or hobbies or things like that. And next time you're here, I want you to teach me how to shoot a bow, because that actually sounds like so much fun.
I would definitely be on for that. We'll have to make an outing of it. Bring everybody along.
But I'm sure there's some skill involved.
It's all fun.
I love it. Eli, this was awesome, man. Did you have a good time? Did you have fun?
Of course I did. I knew I was going to have a good time because you're the fun guy.
Excellent. I love it. So we got one last thing to close out. I actually made a little outro video to close you guys off. So Eli, how can people get in contact with you before we say goodbye?
The easiest way is to go to connectwithely.com, and it is ELY. So connectwithely.com. And from there, you're going to find all of my social media stuff. You can contact me. You got, my email address, all that kind of fun stuff. But one of the things is, if you heard me on this show, connect with me and say so. That's really important because I think I have like 15 friend requests on Facebook waiting in my inbox right now. And that if you send me a message and say, I heard you on Fred's show, I am going to pay attention to that much faster, and I will connect with you. And even if you just want to chat and just hear, pick my brain a little bit, I'm cool with it. So on that same page, bottom right-hand corner, there's a little star. It says, let's chat. Book a call with me. I'm totally about that. It's about having fun first. If we can figure out a way to help you in whatever it is you're stuck with, I want to be that resource for you. If it does mean my products, we'll have that conversation. If not, I'm cool with it either way. I'd love to chat with you.
I love it. So you guys got to connectwithely.com. If you just want to chat, you want to talk about archery, you want to talk about automation, or you just want to talk about whatever fun stuff comes through Eli's mind, you can connect with him. It's right down there. And I also put it in the chat box as well. Go to connectwithely.com. Eli, I had so much fun, man. This was a blast.
Yes, me too, brother.
Sometime soon.
Had a good one. Thank you so much. And
see you guys.
Have a good one.